Okay, ready. Okay, Bismillah. So, inshallah, I'm going to just continue on the next 5 questions I've got, and then inshallah, that's pretty much the end of it. Apart from what else we do, and any questions that anyone has as we go around. So, this section is about zakat calculation. I believe some people have already asked, but I'm going to clarify because I've not spoken to everybody. So, oh, there's actually 6 questions, but that's fine. Inshallah, it won't take too much longer. So, zakat calculation is really simple. It's like I said before. It's everything you have minus everything you owe. That's your net zakatable assets. Obviously, remember that has to be above the nisab, and then you're eligible to pay. If it's below, you're eligible to receive. And we have a full team that checks that ourselves. I'm not sure if every charity does because sometimes it's quite obvious, abroad, for example. But here, just to make sure that everything goes sort of by the book, so to speak, we have a full team that checks that. And then the 2.5% that everyone knows about, 1/40th, that comes from this calculation. So it's only after you've taken away liabilities and what's left is 2.5% of that. Okay, how do I add all my money? So it's all money assets, anything that's money-like in your ownership is zakatable, so you add it. That's petty cash, that's savings in bank accounts, and all currencies as well. So we had a case where someone had family in Australia, so they had an account with Australian dollars. So if they wanted to pay out there, for example, there's an NZF there that's separate to us, but they're also NZF. So, for example, they chose to pay there in Australian dollars as well. So any currencies, you kind of add them together. So you add them all in one group. I'll wait 1 sec. Okay, yeah, they're quite loud, so just in case people can't hear. But yeah, so basically all the currencies, if you want to add it into one common currency, that's fine. That's probably the easiest way to do it. But you can always do it with multiple currencies online as well if you use a calculator. And also, zakat is not payable on money that's been spent before the zakat year ends. So anything that's upcoming, there's a certain amount that you're able to take off coming up. So if it's been spent, then it doesn't count. It's essentially like you'd say tax deductible. For us, it's not really a tax zakat, but it's similar. You can kind of say it's like zakat deductible in a way because it's been spent already. Okay, there's 2 things as well. So there's money owed to you, and obviously money that you owe. So for money owed to you, you must pay zakat on loans advanced with hope of repayment and receivables from the sale of commercial goods. So if someone had a business, for example, they were selling cars, any cars in their possession that counts as like a commercial good because they're intending to sell it, not to keep it, to drive, those would be zakatable. Again, houses, for example, if someone has a property where they get rent, the actual value of the property is not zakatable, the rent is. It's rental income, so you count the income in the zakat calculation. Unless you've bought the house and you're trying to do it up and flip it or sell it, for example, if that's the purpose for buying it, then that's the only time that you add up the actual what the house price value is worth. So it's just something to note there. And then for money owed to you, you can pay zakah on it each year and pay that and then keep the whole sum when you receive it. Or in the other case, you can pay zakah only when you receive it, but in that case, it's a little more complicated because all the previous years zakah you'll have to calculate and pay. You have to back calculate. So it's probably the easiest way to just pay on the sum you have each year and then keep it on receipt. Okay, 3rd one, gold and silver. So again, there's a difference of opinion. So for most people here will be following Hanafi in general. So do we at NZF. So the view there is gold and silver in whatever form is subject to zakah. So that includes if women are wearing jewellery. Obviously, men don't wear gold jewellery, but they might have a silver chain or something like that, or rings, anything like that. So all of the gold and silver is counted as is subject to zakah. But just to note, it's the scrap value that the value you'd sell it for to a jeweler, not the actual market value, which can be a bit higher. So it's the slightly lower one than that, whatever a jeweler would pay you for it. So the scrap value essentially. Then other schools say if it's used as a personal item, they see it as an item of clothing. So that's when for women wearing gold jewelry, for example, it wouldn't be counted as zakatable because they consider it clothing. And then let's have a look. And then, oh yes, and also there's no zakat due if the jewellery is less than 50% pure. So if it's less than 12 carat, basically, it doesn't count because Islamically, for anything to count as being like a particular substance, it has to be more than 50% of that substance. So that's just a good view as well. So if something is gold plated, like I don't think any of us do here, but I know people have like gold plated iPhones and stuff. So anyone who's that way inclined, it's likely to be less than 12 carat. So because it's less than 50% pure gold, not zakatable. It's just plated. Yeah. Next one. we've got another 2 or 3. Okay, so when does something become trade stock? So trade stock is that which was bought to be sold and is still on the market. So you pay zakat on the market value, just like I've been saying. Now, whether something is trade stock, like I say, it depends upon the intention. Like I say, so something's being rented, it's the income. Resale, then it's the actual full amount, but it's not always. And if it's just for your own use, your own car, for example, you wouldn't do that. So in the past, it's comparable to, like, people use camels and horses for transport. It's comparable to that. They don't pay zakat on their own. It's not like they're herding them or growing them or anything like that. Yeah. So investments. So now this is more modern day stuff. So investments, so shares, if it's bought for resale, then it's treated as trade stock. If you're buying shares, so for example, I've got a little bit in like Wahid Invest, for example. They invest on the stock market in like the halal funds, basically. So when they do that, then it's zakat on the full market value of the actual stocks that you hold. But if you own like if you own more than sort of something that's fractional, if you own like a certain amount, then zakat is due on the proportion of the zakatable assets of the company. It depends what it is you're owning. And so the easy way to tell, scholars have taken a look at the indexes for maybe, let's say, at least the top 100 companies that are permissible to invest in, and they found that, as an example, you could assume about 25% of the share value is zakatable, because 25% of it is used as trade stock, and the rest is just like the business's costs or the business's like other things that aren't trade stock, essentially. And so that's the easy way to tell. If you have a whole investment portfolio and you don't want to go through everyone's balance sheet, just take 25%, and that's the easy way to do it. Let's see. And then next investment is pensions. There's a difference here. Essentially, you can split it quite. I know there might be a lot of people who are public services, have an NHS pension, for example, or other pensions at public services. Not zakatable, because you don't have ownership or control. You get the sum at the end. Yeah. But I can't remember which is which, how to define benefit or define contribution, but mostly public sector tends to be the other type, which is zakatable, where you have ownership and control. So you could have chosen not to put it in that fund, but you chose to like match, or the employer matched you, and you chose to put a certain amount in, and you're going to get a certain amount out at the end. If you have ownership and control, include it in your calculation. We have a calculator that does that for you as well, by the way, so it's quite easy. Okay. There's a section online. I need to share all this stuff in the group afterwards as well. There's a section online where we've determined like particular pension funds and how much of it is zakatable again, because like stocks, there's a certain amount that is and isn't. Okay, and then let's see, 2, 3. Okay, only 4 slides. So investments for children. Again, another difference of opinion. So in the Hanafi view, you know, for example, how children are recommended to pray, but it's not obligatory upon them. So they treat the zakat the same way. So if they had pocket money and they said, I want to give some away, you could let them. But there's nothing mandated on them. It's not mandatory until they reach puberty. However, in other schools, they consider it to be zakatable on them, and the parent might pay them on their behalf before they become financially responsible, for example. So just something to bear in mind. Last 2. So what liabilities do I take away? Alhamdulillah. So what liabilities do I subtract? So debts or liabilities that are due or outstanding for repayment on the day of your zakat, like anniversary, so to speak. So the day when it's due, you can deduct it. If something hasn't gone out, for example, let's say rent for that month, or other costs for that month, you can deduct it before you calculate your zakat, how much to give. And then liabilities in relation to future consumption are not deductible, apart from a month, like I just said, about a month of usage, for example. You won't really want to go over that. So it's not like, okay, so I have a mortgage that's worth the value of a house. So now I can minus it all off, the entire value of the mortgage, and now everyone needs to pay me zakat. Not like that. So it's just anything that's up to about a month ahead. And the mortgage might be just like the annual amount from that year if it's not gone out yet already, which it mostly may have done. Last thing is the other debts as well. They're deductible from your gross zakatable assets if they are to be repaid in full within the next 12 months. So an exception to what I just said, if you're on the final year of your mortgage or like a long-term debt arrangement, obviously not including interest, this is, by the way, yeah, then it's deductible. Because if it's to be repaid in full in the next 12 months, then so that's the same with student loans as well. it essentially it kind of works like a tax really, but you consider it a loan because it's loaned to you. That's what they call it on the contract. But there's unless it's due, like it's like the last year you have to pay it, for example, you don't have to take it all off as a liability. Okay, inshallah, let's keep going. Inshallah, good to go.
Before you finish,
Yes.
Because this is the last stop,
Yes.
mashallah, how much have we raised up till now, and what's going to happen with the money that people have donated?
Okay, so last thing this morning before coming out, I checked. Alhamdulillah, it was slightly above 1,300. So mashallah, that's a fantastic achievement. So may Allah reward you all. That's from a couple of people who set up pages and gave to their own networks, and also anyone who gave to the group pages we had. So alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you a lot, abundantly, and make everything easy for you. And of course, a lot of it will go back to our services to be able to help those locally. So the Manchester figure, I was telling someone, it was for the past 6 months so far, it's been about 115k that has been given out in Zakat. And the sadaqah is used to facilitate us doing that, and obviously using the team to determine the nisab and check everyone's need as well. Because so yeah, alhamdulillah, that's basically where it's going to, the growth fund essentially.